Now, this is just wild as more trade reports are speculating for the Montreal Canadiens. One recent article out of Vancouver suggests a trade for Montreal's top power play goal scorer in Patrik Laine. We have to dive into the article itself and what a trade package with the Vancouver Canucks could very well look like. But Jesse, it's not just that. We got an update on Ivan Demidov, who's back to work, and some comments from Matvei Michkov on his play, and our boy Bogdan Konyushkov. We are presidents of the Bogdan fan club. He has been having an unbelievable VHL playoffs as he scores another goal recently. A bunch of great stuff coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. And Jesse, let's just start with our boy Bogdan. He's been amazing. Here is just a summary from Elite Prospects of his stats. And you'll notice there on the right side near the bottom, it's the VHL. Of course, after his KHL team was gone, he went down to the VHL with Torpedo Gorky. 12 points in 13 games, Jesse, including this clap bomb. How good has he looked this season? I know the demotion to the VHL for playoffs, not really a demotion. It's not what you'd love to see from a guy who was captain last season. But honestly, the more we see about this guy, the more excited I get, even though he might not even come to Montreal, if ever, but it'd be at least another couple of years from now.
You know him, you love him, and he's been really kind of working on his game, even though he's been hiding away like in Russia a little bit. It's like for sure at the KHL was working on the defensive game, but as soon as he gets demoted, we see that offensive game is still there. Our boy Bogdan very much showing that the one-time slap shot is very much still in fashion in hockey. There's going to be a place for that for a long time to come. Love seeing that, and this is like the type of guy, Josh, that like he's going to come, I feel, he's going to arrive at Montreal one of these days, but it's going to be like when we're competing, when we're really going for that Stanley Cup every single year, and a guy like Bogdan's is going to come on that right-hand side of our defense and just make a good team that much better. I don't know if it's just the Russian factor, but for me, like, this is just a guy that's like just being like a bear in the playoffs. Like, I just expect this guy, like, I'm not saying exactly like Savard, but I'm getting some of those vibes from him just a little bit.
He's got a very interesting outlook, right? I mean, he's not the biggest guy. Like, he's 6 feet tall, like 5'11", 6 feet. But, like, you know, he's improved his defensive game a good bit this year. But like you said, Jesse, it's really that offensive game that caught our eye, especially last year. Captaining his team. You can see the C there next to his name. 28 points in 65 games, 1 point in 5 playoff games. He had a goal in 4 playoff games this year. But again, you can notice he's way too good for the VHL as a defenseman. 12 points in 13 games, plus 13 in 13 playoff games in the VHL, Jesse. So Bogdan is a guy that we love. You guys love him. Leave some love down below for Bogdan Konyushkov, honorary members of the Bogdan Konyushkov fan club. But to stick in, well, maybe not in Russia, but with Russian players, Jesse, we had a nice little photo service today. Saw this on TikTok from Eric A. Steffi, just credit to the author there. But he was out there. He was working on his shooting at the Habs practice facility. And yeah, I mean, he looks great. Love to see him back there. I know he took a trip down to Cuba or something like that, but he has been back putting in the work. And we know there's a lot of Habs that just constantly put in that work. Hudson's another guy. But we also have a cool quote from Matvei Michkov about him. He has huge potential. If he keeps working in the right direction, everything will work out. He has everything to become a superstar in this league. And this is more so just that hype train starting early, Jesse. I mean, the playoffs are not even over. He's done his vacation. He's back working. How excited are you to see this guy come in and probably win the Calder next year with how much he's working on his game and how much he improved even in just his 7-game sample with the Habs this year?
Yeah, the hype train and the Calder campaign are both starting early. And I mean, like Demidov, he didn't need to see the example from Hudson again, somebody else who puts in all that work behind the scenes to just be really the best. Like Demidov came here already knowing that, but amazing, like to see him. Like Josh, I'm excited already. Like when you're watching the videos, like of this, like he is just ripping shots right now, like right from the slot. And I love how Montreal's just doing such a great job of like, they're always taking like the most relevant like things to kind of work on. Like for Demidov, yeah, like this is what we want you to do. We just want you getting the puck right in the slot and ripping it. We're going to be feeding it to you there. Just be ready to shoot. So I love seeing not only him putting in that practice, but I think them working on the skills that really matter the most. And I know, again, to touch on the Michkov issue, there has been a little bit of, bad blood, a little bit of, feelings getting hurt a little bit with Michkov there. Always complex situations, definitely there. Probably lots behind the scenes we might not know about. But again, highlighting the superstar material that Demidov has. He knows that everything's there. And if he just keeps putting in the work, like we're seeing the videos of him doing already, getting back to it in Brassard, I mean, we just love to see it. And again, like how this guy is really going to elevate this team going forward, I think is just going to be groundbreaking for the Montreal Canadiens.
I mean, just watching him so far, man, like the magic that happened when the puck was on his stick, he's just learning. But in the 7 games, he turned from like, okay, two points in that first game, was like, oh, unbelievable against Chicago. Playoffs started, took him a couple games to acclimate to NHL playoff pressure. Again, it's just it's a hype train for him because he's so special, and I cannot wait to see what happens next year. Like you said, he's putting his full body into these shots. He's almost falling forward on him, so it's really crazy. Again, just some demigod hype. Leave it down below. As we got to get into our final topic today, Jesse, and this one's a really interesting one. Now, we've been hearing a lot of trade talks. We've been talking about Mayu. We've been talking about, I mean, so many other names, but when it comes to Montreal, one guy we haven't really thought about moving is Patrik Laine, because he was injured to start the year. He played a lot of this year, still with a bit of a nagging injury, broke his finger in the playoffs. And we've been kind of like, let's just see what a fully healthy Laine looks like. But there's an article from Daily Hive out of Vancouver today that really seems interesting. And their number 3 target for the Canucks to target this offseason is Patrik Laine. Now, they're likely losing Brock Besser, so they're going to need that kind of goal scoring from a right-hand shot from a winger. And they suggest to get Patrik Laine, who's only on a 1-year deal, 20 goals in 52 games this year. And I find this really interesting, again, like I said, to say the least, because they go on to say in this article that I'll link down below, the Canucks need goal scorers. There's few better natural snipers than Laine currently walking planet Earth. In some ways, that could be perfect fit for the Canucks as they bring in some of the most dangerous shooters in the game. I don't hate this idea from the Canucks perspective. My question is, I don't know, Jesse, when I'm looking from Montreal perspective, I'm not against moving Laine at some point this year if the package is right, if we don't want to extend him. But am I crazy for saying I wouldn't even entertain this unless it's for an incredible package before seeing kind of a healthy Laine start the season?
I wouldn't entertain it. In fact, I don't even like see him even being hinted in a Canucks jersey. That's still our boy right here. I want to see him healthy, and I want to see him starting off the season in Montreal that way. And the thing with Kent Hughes is like he's going to do right by this player. Again, somebody that came in, under the situation that he did, is they want to kind of nurture him and develop him there. And again, we know that Patrik Laine, definitely didn't have the best playoff showing. That being said, we're not getting into the playoffs without him, and that's the whole thing is that but this season really matters here because Laine has said he wants to stay in Montreal. He wants to get a reset. He wants to get his contract renewed, re-up in Montreal, but he's going to have to prove it this year. It's not going to be given to him because that top 6 with Demidov, that 2C that we're getting, that top line that we have already, it's a very, if he wants to hold on to that seat, he's going to have to make a compelling argument for it this year. That being said, a very dynamic player. He knows what he needs to work on, though, too, and you have to feel like he wouldn't come into Montreal not wanting to put in the work. He knows the pressure cooker. He knows that we're going to point out if there's different parts of this game that we don't like, that we're going to bring that up. So for me, even just come to Montreal, that just shows a willingness to work on that game, to be that best version of yourself, that best hockey player that he can be. So I'm having that faith in Patrik Laine.
I do too. And I really want to see him succeed. He had a lot of pressure on him, but at the same time, like I mentioned, if we're talking in the middle of the season at some point, if the decision is maybe getting more clear for Montreal, I don't totally mind the idea, especially considering if he's a great power play goal scorer again this year, half retention at deadline, some contender can get a guy like Laine for $4 million. That could be extremely valuable. And if we're talking on that front, again, maybe we can get into this, and I don't want to dive too deep into these potential targets from Canucks. I spoke with the guys over at Canucks Digest. Go check that out as well if you want to have some more Canucks news. One guy they mentioned, Jesse, one is Aturatu, a young prospect in Vancouver. Of course, we remember his name is famous. He had a 58% face-off percentage with the Canucks this year. Looks to be a solid, middle 6 to bottom 6 guy going forward. But also another guy's Filip, 25 years old, went to the Canucks in the Rangers from the Rangers in the JT Miller trade. $4.4 million for the next 2 years. 50% on the dot with Vancouver. He's had a lot of injuries, but he's a former 20 goal scorer. Neither of these guys even really move the needle for me, Jesse, but I think they're the 2 guys that make the most sense from the Canucks. All that's to say, I'd like to hear the fans' thoughts on anyone from the Canucks and take a little look at their forward roster. But again, to me, it's not a suitable trade partner, and I don't think they'd want to give up anything too crazy like one of their top prospects in the Karamaki or Willander for him. But I don't know. Do either of these guys intrigue you at all? Chytil's interesting, but again, another young injury-prone guy or another unproven 22-year-old, to me, just doesn't get the deal done.
No, for sure. And we're keeping Laine in the first place right now. Montreal has a plan. with this player to really develop him and again, kind of take him from where he is and then round out that game. I would love to see a Patrik Laine, even if he's just getting 30 plus goals a year, but then playing a little bit more of that complete game. I believe that is a version of Patrik Laine. We can see the game breaker on what he did for this power play this year was just like absolutely like phenomenal. If we can find a way to just do that while still kind of keeping it fresh and creating some other options, this is going to be a huge threat for the Montreal Canadiens every time that they get a power play this year. So I want to see them fully utilize it.
Jesse, if we could have that Buffalo game over and over again, that was one of the most fun nights of this entire season. Before the playoffs, that game where he came in, had that hat trick. That's still possible. Again, nagging injuries for him. I'm excited to see what he has coming this year. Let us know your thoughts on a trade proposal for the Canucks, but I think you guys are going to be on the same page as us. Don't let him go yet. Let him prove himself. We'll see what the future holds, but hey, gotta entertain every option. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Die. Just leave your thoughts on everything we discussed down below. We'd love to hear from you, and thank you so much for watching every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.